History is full of battles where one side had every advantage on paper and still lost. More troops, better armor, greater prestige. Yet again and again, those advantages became liabilities. Few battles prove this more clearly than one muddy field in northern France. Before we get into it, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment below if you want more no-nonsense military history and strategy breakdowns. In this video, we're going to explain how one medieval battle proved that numbers alone do not win wars. For most people, military history is remembered through simple explanations. One side was stronger, one side was weaker. The stronger side should have won. That assumption feels logical, but it is often wrong. Throughout history, armies with more men, better equipment, and greater prestige have been defeated by forces that understood something more important than strength. They understood context, terrain, timing, doctrine, leadership. The Battle of Agincourt stands as one of the clearest examples of this reality. In 1415, during the Hundred Years' War, an English army under King Henry V found itself deep in French territory. The campaign had gone poorly. Disease had ravaged the troops. Supplies were short. The English were trying to withdraw toward the port of Calais when a much larger French force moved to intercept them. On paper, the outcome seemed obvious. The French army outnumbered the English by a wide margin. French forces consisted largely of heavily armored knights, men trained from youth to fight on horseback, supported by infantry and crossbowmen. They represented the military elite of medieval Europe. The English, by contrast, were exhausted. Their army was smaller, undersupplied, and composed largely of longbowmen with lighter armor. They were on foot, far from home, and attempting to escape, not conquer. If war were decided by numbers alone, Agincourt would be a footnote. Instead, it became a lesson. The battlefield itself was narrow, hemmed in by woods on both sides. Recent rain had turned the freshly plowed earth into thick, clinging mud. Movement was difficult even before the fighting began. This terrain mattered more than most commanders realized. The French plan relied on mass charges by armored knights. Their doctrine assumed open ground, space to maneuver, and momentum. Armor made knights formidable in direct combat, but it also made them heavy. In mud, that weight became a problem. The English recognized this immediately. Henry V positioned his army defensively, anchoring his flanks against the woods. Longbowmen were placed in front and protected by sharpened stakes driven into the ground. This forced the French to advance straight ahead into a confined killing zone. The French command structure, however, struggled with discipline and coordination. Nobles competed for honor and position. Multiple commanders issued conflicting guidance. There was little unity of effort. Instead of adapting to the terrain, the French doubled down on their assumptions. They advanced. As French knights began their approach, English longbowmen unleashed volleys of arrows. These arrows were not always lethal through heavy armor, but they were disruptive. Horses were struck, knights were unseated. Formations broke apart. The mud did the rest. As knights fell, they struggled to rise. Armor that protected them from blades now trapped them against the ground. Those behind pressed forward, compressing their own ranks. What was meant to be a powerful charge became a slow, suffocating crush. French numerical superiority became a liability. There was no room to maneuver, no ability to flank, no way to exploit their advantage in manpower. The English, by contrast, fought a battle suited to their strengths. Longbowmen could fire rapidly. Stakes prevented cavalry penetration. Infantry could engage exhausted, dismounted knights who were already struggling to breathe under the weight of their armor. The fighting devolved into chaos, but it was one-sided chaos. French casualties mounted rapidly. Nobles were killed or captured in staggering numbers. Units could not withdraw because those behind continued to push forward. Leadership collapsed not from lack of courage, but from lack of control. Agincourt was not won by luck. It was won by pre-battle decisions. Terrain selection mattered. Force composition mattered. Doctrine mattered. Command discipline mattered. The French had superior numbers, but they failed to translate those numbers into combat power. Their doctrine assumed conditions that did not exist. Their leadership failed to adapt when those assumptions proved false. This is the core lesson of Agincourt. Strength is contextual. An advantage only matters if the environment allows it to be used. Throughout history, this pattern repeats. Armies prepare to fight the wars they expect, not the wars they encounter. When reality diverges from expectation, rigidity becomes fatal. Agincourt illustrates how advantages can invert under the wrong conditions. Heavy armor became a burden. Large formations became congestion. Prestige became overconfidence. Meanwhile, the English exploited simplicity. They reduced variables. They forced the enemy to fight on unfavorable terms. They did not attempt to match French strength. They redirected it. Modern audiences often mythologize Agincourt as a miracle or an underdog story. That framing misses the real lesson. This battle was predictable. Once the French chose that battlefield, once they committed to that doctrine, once they failed to impose discipline and coordination, the outcome was largely decided. This is why military history matters. Battles are not just moments of violence. They are case studies in decision-making under pressure. They reveal how organizations behave when plans collide with reality. Agincourt teaches that winning wars is not about possessing the most resources. It is about aligning resources with conditions. That lesson applies across centuries. Whether armies fight with swords or satellites, the same principles persist. Misalignment between doctrine and environment creates vulnerability. Overconfidence blinds leadership. Rigid thinking invites disaster. The mud at Agincourt did not defeat the French. Their refusal to adapt did. And that is why, 600 years later, this battle still matters.